Hey everyone, welcome back to Wix Fix. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Ryan, and today's video is the last in our little mini series where we started recreating Givingli inside of Wix Studio. Now, if you haven't been watching the past 3 videos of this series, this is a really cool website that has a few different sections on there that I've been recreating inside of Wix Studio. The first video, we kind of covered the background color change effect on scroll. And then in the second video, we actually recreated the hero section where all of these different icons are moving when the mouse moves. And then as we scroll, we get this really nice effect here. And we were able to replicate that inside of Wix Studio. And then in the last episode, we were able to recreate this bento grid design with all these cool hover interactions built into the grid. However, for today's video, we are going to be creating this image collage or image like firework style design inside of Wix Studio using scroll interactions. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I actually want to do is actually grab the container from the section above, and we're going to go down to the bottom and give us 20% margin on the bottom just to kind of separate the sections a little bit more and be consistent with the spacing that we added to the bottom of this section. But we're going to head down to the last open grid cell here. And inside of this, we're just going to place in a simple container. So we're going to add a container, stretch it, and remove the background color. Now, this container is going to contain all of the assets that we need for today's tutorial. So inside of this container, we're going to head to media. So we'll add media, show more, and I want to add several images. In fact, I'm just going to grab all of these images and press add to page. Now, as these images are being added in, you'll notice that these are quite big. So what we're going to end up doing is once all of them have been finished adding to the page, we are going to select all of them, head down the corners, and we're going to round the corners very easily. Perfect. And we'll make sure this one is selected as well. And for some reason, this one right here wasn't selected. So we'll go ahead and make sure we get that one as well. And then we're going to resize these to be about 225, maybe around, about 220 in size. Again, for some reason, this one didn't get changed. So what we're going to do is lock the aspect ratio and set this to 200. Perfect. So now all of these are basically the same exact size. And what I'm going to do is just kind of move them all over. And actually, it looks like these are actually 217. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure we do that. But what I'm going to do is make sure all of these images are kind of stacked on top of each other in the same area, just like this. And then what I want to do is go in here and just kind of make sure all the images are centered. Okay, so now this is what we should see. But what I want to do now is actually grab this top image. We're going to go down to position type. We're going to set this to sticky, and we're going to set the offset to 25%. Now I kind of want to see what that would look like here. It's going to stick it right about there, which is not quite halfway down the page. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and tweak this a little bit more. Let's try 35% and see where that lands us. So that looks directly in the middle. Perfect. So now that we have that number, let's go to each one of these other images. We're going to set the position type to sticky and the offset to 35. And I'm going to go ahead and do that for all of the other images. And once we're finished with that, I now want to go to the layers panel and move the main image back on top. The other images, it doesn't really matter the order that much. And then I'm going to go ahead and just preview it just to make sure everything looks correct here. And it looks like it is. Perfect. And now what I want to do is, if we take a look back at the section, we have this text right here. And I'm going to go ahead and copy the paragraph. So gifting made simple. And then we have this paragraph. So let's go ahead and create that layer real quick. So we're just going to add, we'll do a heading 2. Perfect. And we're going to change the text color to our purple, dark purple. We're going to center the text. And just for fun, I'm going to set this to hug. And then we can then switch it back to scaling proportionately. That way our bounding box is just kind of right around the text. And we can make this even a little bit bigger if we want to. Now I will say the text is a little bit different. So I'm going to go ahead and fix this really quickly. Perfect. And then I'm going to make sure that this text is centered. Underneath that, we're just going to add a very simple paragraph. I'll paste in the code that I got from the website. We'll set the color to the dark purple. We'll center this text, and let's go ahead and make it a little bit bigger. Let's say like 28. I think that's a good size. And we'll make the width about this. Then we'll bring it underneath the heading. We'll stack these together. And then I'm going to bring it up a little bit. But now what I want to do is, just like we did with the images, I'm going to go ahead and set the position type to sticky. And I am just going to set this as 25 for now. Let's go ahead and see where it sticks. So you can see it moves up a little bit. So instead of 25, maybe for this one, I'm going to try 30. And I think 30 was the magic number. Awesome. Now, one thing I will say is I am going to want this stack to be in the back. And I'm also going to want to place this inside of a container. And just realizing my mistake now, we actually need to apply that sticky position to the container and not necessarily the stack. So I'm going to go ahead and set this back to default. And I'm just going to do my due diligence and just kind of ensure that everything is working as we expect it to. It doesn't look like the text is moving. Looks like the images are, but for now, we're just gonna go ahead and leave it. Okay, so I'm gonna move the container down below the images, and now we can go ahead and start working on the section. So in order to create that scroll effect, what I'm actually going to do is come over to Quick Add, and I'm gonna add a container. Now I'm gonna make this container really skinny, but for the height, I'm actually gonna come over to Size Properties, press those 3 dots and turn on Advanced Sizing. And I'm gonna set this to like 200 VH for now. So it is gonna be a very, very long section, but we are gonna set a top margin for now as 100 VH. So it's gonna be off screen. And then let's also set it for the bottom as well. We are going to potentially change that here very soon. But what I want to do first is actually edit the text. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to grab this container that we have here. And this is going to be our trigger for our effects. Okay, so with this container selected, we're going to come over to animations, go to scroll, and we're going to add a scroll animation. Now we don't want to apply the animation to the container, so we don't want to affect the container. We just want to use the container as the trigger object. So instead, we're going to say animated element. We want it to be the container that's holding the stack. Okay. And for the animation path, we want this to be the final design, or where it ends. We want the animation to end how it presently is. So we're going to leave it as to its design. Then we're going to press expand. And if we go down to the bottom right, we can adjust the animation and we can set the starting size. So maybe it can be like 60%, and the animation area, we are going to have to kind of adjust this later on, but maybe for this one, I know we're going to have to start a little bit later for this, and then it can end around 80. So just for fun, we'll leave it at that for now. Okay. So now we can go ahead and back out, and we still have our trigger container selected. So we can add another scroll interaction to this. Because we're not affecting the actual trigger object, we can actually add another scroll interaction. But again, we're not trying to affect it. So we're going to go down to stack. And for this one, we're going to say fade. So we want to go to its design. So we want it to be fully visible at the very end. So we're going to leave it as that. And then under adjust animation, again, I think we're going to do 50 to 80 for now. Again, this is going to probably take a little bit of tweaking later on. And just for fun, let's go ahead and see how that works. So here we have the thing coming in. Perfect. Okay. So that actually looked pretty good. Now, the reason it seems really late is because we have not animated any of the images yet. Okay. So once we start animating the images, which will need to be the first thing that happens. So I think once we get right here, so basically right when the images stop moving, that's kind of when I want the animation to start happening. So it is going to take a little bit of guess and check, but let's go ahead and start with the first one. So in the layers panel, I'm going to start by hiding the text container for now. That way we can solely focus on the images. And for this image right here, if we take a look at the website, this image moves to the top left. Okay, with the trigger container selected, we're going to add another hover interaction. We don't want to apply it to itself. We want to apply it to this image, and we're going to press move. Under the adjust animation, this one's going to go to the top left. 400 pixels might be a bit too extreme, and I just realized I did make a mistake. So let's go back. For this one, this is not the final location of the image. So we don't want to go to its design. We actually want to go from its design. So we want to start here and move somewhere else. Now with move selected, we can go to adjust and we can kind of adjust where it is currently. I will say we're going to want to start from 0 and maybe we're going to end at 30. So here, maybe even 30 is a bit too extreme, but we'll go ahead and check it out. Just for fun, let's preview this and see what 400 pixels looks like. Honestly, 400 pixels is not too bad. I will say though, I do want this to be more of a responsive value. So I'm gonna switch this 400 pixels over to viewport, and I'm just gonna set this to 35 viewport. And let's just go ahead and preview this to see where it is. Okay. Honestly, I think I like that location. I think that's perfect. If we look at the live website, it kind of goes over into that direction. So I think we are good with that. And honestly, I might just adjust it a little bit. We'll do 30 and we'll kind of push it a little bit more to the left. Okay, I like that. Awesome. But now the next problem is trying to get this to start in the right location. To do that, we're going to head back over to the design tab, and with our trigger container selected, we can adjust the top margin. So for this, let's do 50%. Now, I don't think that this is going to be enough because you can see it's not even stuck yet before it starts. So now it's a little too early. So let's go ahead and adjust this to maybe 75. And we can see it basically starts right before it gets stuck. So with that in mind, we now know that we can probably get away safely with using ADVH. And we can double check that just by previewing. And that was literally perfect. Okay, awesome. So now we can go ahead and start working on the other images. So with the trigger object selected, we can move up to animation and effects, press add, and we don't want to choose the same image. Let's choose this one right here, which on the live website, this one moves to the bottom right. Okay, so what we're gonna do is move from its design, press move, adjust. We want this one to go literally to the bottom right, and we're gonna do like 50 VW. And then we're gonna set the animation from 0 to 30. And we can even offset these slightly as well. So maybe we do 5 and 33. So that way it kind of gives it the effect that they're not all in sync completely, right? It kind of gives it that nice effect. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So again, we're not going to affect it itself. We're going to affect the next one. We're going to move from its design, move it, adjust it. And we have the gift card one selected. So this one moves to the bottom left, which it kind of already is located there. I'm going to move this 30 VW, and we're going to start this one at like near 0 and end it a little after 30. Okay, let's move on to the next image real quick. We'll select this one, and this one moves basically directly to the left. So we'll press move, adjust, push it to the left, and I'll do 50 VW. Again, we'll adjust the animation. And I do think I want all of these other ones to kind of start after 0 because I want this main image to move first. Okay, so I just got finished adding the rest of the images here. And now I just want to go ahead and preview this and kind of see how everything moves about. I think that looks pretty good. However, this one might need to move a little bit more. This one might need to move a little bit more to the right. And this one might need to move a smidge to the left. So we can go in there and change them pretty easily. I'm going to first start by doing this one right here. This one needs to move a little bit more. Okay. And maybe even set this to like 25 VW. Okay. Let me double check that one really quickly. Again, it might need to be a little bit more. Okay. I think I like that. Let's grab this one And we want to move this one up like 35, maybe push it over a little bit more. And honestly, that should be fine just to kind of get the gist. Let me grab this Target gift card and shove it over to the right a lot more. So now let's go over to the layers panel. We'll show the main text. Let's go ahead and preview the design. Okay, we can see that the text fits in this collage very nicely. However, we probably want it to start appearing right about here. So we're going to do expand container. And we're going to push this right here. And maybe we'll end at like 50. So we're doing 22 to 50. And we're going to go ahead and apply that same area of effect or animation area to the fade as well. Perfect. So now let's go ahead and check this out. Perfect. I think that looks really good. And then what I want to do is with this selected, I want to go ahead and remove the bottom margin. Okay. So that way, once we basically hit the bottom of this, we start moving up, which I think looks really good. Obviously, with all of these elements here, we need to apply different sizes. We need to apply the mouse effect, and we also need to add bottom margin to these. Okay, so in order to do that, what I want to do is I want to grab this image and we're going to right click and place it in a container. Now with this in a container, we of course need to go down to the position type and set it to 35 because again, I did things a little bit out of order. So we can turn off the position type for the image itself and we actually need to apply it to its parent container. Okay. And then with the parent container selected, we can go ahead and apply the mouse effect to it. So for this one, we're going to press track and we'll maybe affect this one 40 pixels. So this is what it should look like now. And I think that looks pretty nice. And I'm going to go ahead and do that for each one of these other images really quickly. Okay, now that I've gotten all of those sorted out and I added all the mouse effects to all of the images, which we can see here, and I added them at different amounts. So some of them move farther than others, and it kind of gives the website a little bit more depth, and I think it looks really nice. However, now what we need to do is add margin to the bottom for each one of these images. So for example, if we grab this container and we add margin to the bottom, it's going to be really, really big because of all of the space that we have. So what I'm going to do is dock it to the top. And what I'm going to do is add 60 VH to the bottom. I think that might be a little bit too much. So let's go ahead and see what happens here. I mean, maybe it's not. So let me go ahead and try 55 VH for the bottom of the text. So once the text comes in, we're here for a bit and then we see that. Okay, so that might be a little too much actually. Okay, so I think I'm gonna do 45 VH for all of the images. I think that actually ended up being a good number. So we'll do 45 VH and I'm gonna do that for all of these images. Now you might be wondering why we are able to add 45 VH for all of them when some of them are lower and some of them are higher. And that's because technically they are sitting right here. The images never actually move from right here. Their actual element is still here in the center, all in the same spot, right? It's only the effect that makes them look like they're not in the same spot. So their actual element is still in the same spot everywhere. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and test this out and see if this works. Boom. We have this nice mouse effect. Image comes in and boom, everything starts moving up. Nice. Okay. But now something to note is the text is still moving slightly, and that's not really an effect that we want. So, and the reason is because the text is actually a little bit bigger. So what we actually need to do is with the text, we're going to go ahead and maybe make this like 43 VH and see if that fixes it. And that fixed it. Awesome. So now we created this effect and it looks really good. But now we have two things we still technically need to fix. If we take a look at the live design, all of the different images are kind of different sizes, right? I want to keep the main image the same and maybe keep one other one the same, but all of the other ones I kind of want to adjust the sizes. Also, something to note is we don't have a gray box or container scrolling as we go around the website. So let's go ahead and fix that. To do that, we're gonna go into the editor. We're gonna grab our trigger container and we're just going to remove the opacity. Just as easy as that. And for the image sizes, what we're gonna do is just grab the images itself. We're gonna scroll down to adjust, and under scale, maybe we'll set this one to 90%. Maybe for this one, we'll select 80. For this one, let's just do 60. This one we'll do 70. I think there were some really tiny ones, so we'll do 40 for this one. Maybe for this one, we'll do 80. And then last but not least, we'll grab this one and we'll set this one to 60. Okay, so now if we take a look here, they're all going to be different sizes, and that looks pretty nice. And then it all scrolls up together. I think that looks fantastic. So before we take a look at the entire website, what I now must do is show all of the color. What the heck? Is show all of the background colors. There we go. And I'm going to scroll up all the way up to the top, and I'm going to press preview. So as we can see here, we have the nice mouse effect. And then as we start scrolling, this text is going to disappear. This phone is going to move up. These icons will move onto the phone, and we should see more text show up on the sides. Fantastic. And we still have the mouse effect on these icons. So that's why they're like a little bit out of place. And then we keep scrolling and we transition over into the beige background, and we have a nice bento grid with these effects. Then we reach this location. We have this nice effect, and then we transition to blue for the call to action and the footer. And I think this looks really, really good. But that's basically gonna wrap it up for today's video. If you guys enjoyed this video and the other parts of this recreation, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more Wix and Wix Studio content coming out really soon. Thank you all again, and I will see you on the next one.